everyone, CE here, and in today's video I will be going over reflection shots with you. I will be going over 6 easy tips that will help you improve your reflection shots. If you are new to diecast photography and you would like to explore the possibility of capturing some really cool reflection shots, these tips are going to be very easy for you to follow, and you'll get to skip the BS of trying to figure at least the early stages of reflection shots. And I will also be going over some things not to do so you can avoid them right away, and you can skip those steps as well, and then you can apply these 6 steps and learn as you go and advance as you wish as far as reflection shots. Also, I will point out that I shoot outdoors, not indoors, so these tips are applied to when shooting outdoors. So the first tip that I will share with you guys is to make sure you shoot in balanced lighting. Now, the best way to do this, in my opinion, is to shoot early in the morning or later in the evening. This will give you a natural glow. This will avoid unnecessary sunspots or sun flares that the sun will cause on your diecast cars. You got to remember that any type of light that bounces off your diecast car will show in your reflection. Also, sometimes the light will not show up on the diecast car itself or the surface of the diecast car, but it'll show up in the reflection, such as the sun or a sun flare. So that's why it's best to shoot when the sun is not at the highest point in the sky, which means right above you. You want to make sure that you're getting natural light without having that harsh lighting that the sun can cause in your photos. Also, it is really nice to shoot during a overcast day. This gives you the opportunity to shoot at any time during the day because the sun is masked behind the clouds and you can still get that natural lighting. Also, nasty sun flares are hard to edit out when you have a car that has a lot of tampos on it or a lot of decals on it. That's going to be really hard to get out later. My second tip is to make sure you shoot during calm weather. Now, I've shot in the rain before, which is great after the fact, but I do not recommend shooting while it rains. Let's remember that these cars are very tiny, so any disturbance whatsoever while you're shooting is going to impact your photo. So the smallest of raindrops that are falling into your reflection will cause ripples and cause your reflection not to be clear. They'll be blurred or offset. Any type of decals on your car can be uneven due to the ripples in the water. Your wheels can actually look bent because of ripples or rainfall. So I would make sure that you're not going to be having anything falling from the heavens that is going to cause the reflection itself to blur. Also, a windy day can cause this as well. I learned that one day I was shooting and it wasn't raining, but the winds were kind of high, and this caused the water to ripple as well, which therefore came into the same results that my reflections weren't as crisp and clear as I would like to have had them. So just make sure to consider that when you're shooting outside. And if you're thinking, oh, it's cool, it's raining outside, I'll get some really cool puddle shots, just try to wait until after the rain has fallen. My third tip for you guys is the no drowning effect. So when you are placing your diecast car on a surface and you want to capture a really cool reflection shot, you can put your diecast car on the edge of a puddle or an edge of a stream or an edge of any type of body of water. Now, this is going to be really cool when you start getting low to the ground, and you're going to notice that you're going to get really nice, clear, and balanced reflections. People often make the mistake of putting their diecast car simply in a puddle and trying to shoot that way. You got to remember, the further your diecast car is into a puddle, the more the car is going to look like it's drowning or in a hurricane. If your goal is to make it look as if you are experiencing a hurricane, then go for it. But otherwise, I would not recommend drowning your diecast car. It's not good for the diecast car anyway. When shooting outside, I try to remember that, sand and water and all that can actually, hurt the axles and get inside the wheel wells and everything like that. But I would not recommend just soaking your car in any body of water. And it's also going to have an impact on your image that's being reflected. The deeper the car is, the less of the wheel is going to be reflected. The less of the bumper is going to be reflected. You'll notice I took some shots earlier that show you this process. The further the car goes into a puddle, the less of a reflection you're going to get of that car. I call it the figure 8 of your wheel. The deeper the wheel is in a puddle, the more of a figure 8 of that wheel you're going to get. You're not going to get the bottom of the wheel. You're going to start reflecting the center of the wheel, and it's going to look like a figure 8, and you want to avoid that. Also, your bumpers will start getting covered, and they won't reflect right at all. So don't drown your Hot Wheels car. Set it on the edge of the surface of a puddle, or you can it's best even when you have the car that's slightly higher at like a kind of a slope. It's always best to have the body of water lower than the diecast car itself. This comes into play very well. My fourth tip for you guys is what I'm going to call the wetlands, okay? So this comes into play when shooting in your environment. Call this wetlands because it is best to shoot in an environment that has been saturated. So in that way, in that environment, you are more likely to get more reflections. Your chance of finding some really cool spots is going to be greater. So for example, shooting next to streams, shooting at the ocean, shooting after a rainfall, not during, but shooting after a rainfall, your chances of getting some really cool puddle shots are going to be better for you. So shoot in an environment that is heavily saturated, because sometimes if you are shooting in an environment and sometimes after a rainfall the ground soaks up the water so quick that you won't get the opportunity to get many shots in. But if you're in an environment that's saturated, where the ground isn't soaking up the water so quickly, you'll get more time to practice with your reflection shots and practice with angles and elevation and the surface itself. Also, I wanted to mention you can also bring a bottle of water with you. If you are having trouble with water saturating too quickly, you can always bring a bottle of water with you. I recommend actually bringing 2 bottles of water with you. That way you have more than you need if you're practicing with your shots. That comes in handy and comes into play sometimes as well. Always keep a bottle of water with you. My 5th tip for you guys is the surface itself, and this is light versus dark. So the lighter a surface is, the less light it's going to reflect. So the reflection isn't going to be as vibrant as it is if it's a darker surface. So examples like concreted areas around pools or hand railings that are white or cream, they will reflect for you, but you're going to need more body of water to reflect a more vibrant photo. So just remember, when you are placing your diecast car on a surface, that the lighter the surface is, the more in-depth your body of water needs to be to capture a more vibrant photo versus a darker surface. My 6th and final tip for beginners is to avoid humidity. This is a nuisance. This is a pain in the butt when you want to go out and shoot and it has just rained, or you have the perfect opportunity because you have the time to shoot. But once you get outside, the humidity is awful. The lower you get to the ground, the worse the humidity is going to get. It's going to fog your lens. No matter how much you try to wipe down your lens, the humidity is going to cause it to start fogging up. That's because the ground is starting to evaporate the water and it's causing a lot of heat, and the body temperature of your camera is cooler than the body or the surface temperature. So it is causing all kinds of different fast temperature changes the lower you get, and it's just a nuisance. So avoid shooting during a humid day or a humid week, or if you just came from inside to go outside, you got to remember your body temperature on your camera is going to be cooler than outside. So make sure to allow your camera to heat up naturally outside. This is going to help with the humidity a little bit, but if the surface itself is still evaporating water, then no matter how much your temperature on your camera has matched the outside surface, it's still going to cause problems for you. So just avoid it. Just avoid it, or wait it out, whichever you prefer to do. But it's going to take a while to get some shots in, because it's going to take a while for your lens to stop fogging up. You're going to constantly have to wipe that lens down, and it's just very frustrating. The only benefit about it is that you get a cool little haze, kind of like a filter over your photos, but I mean, that's an acquired taste. If you want to be like, hey, I shot this outside and I got this cool hazy look, then go for it. But it is more frustrating when trying to constantly wipe down your lens. It's gotten to the point where my lens has been completely foggy that I can't see the car at all. And the foggier or hazier your lens gets, the harder it is for your lens to focus. So just keep that in mind when shooting on a humid day. Alright guys, so those are my 6 tips that I apply to my diecast photography as far as reflections goes. Even if one of these tips helps you improve your reflection shots, then I've done my job. Or perhaps if one of these tips have helped you consider something you didn't even consider prior, then excellent. I'm always happy to help. I get asked all the time regarding certain shots that I take. You can always keep up with my photography at c.e.brinkleyphotography on my Instagram account. And until next time, I hope you guys have a wonderful day, a wonderful week, a wonderful year, and happy hunting. Until next time, peace.